Hi everyone, I'd just like to talk today about some P1 tips for the December 2015 exam sitting. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk through the paper and I'm going to talk about some real core areas of the P1 syllabus, some core areas that haven't been tested for a number of years and some areas that tend to come up in a number of exam sittings. Now, what I'd just say with the P1 syllabus, it's quite a small syllabus for the P-level papers. It obviously covers three main areas: governance, risk and ethics. I think therefore my first tip for all students would be question spotting on an exam like this is extremely dangerous. There are the core areas. Those areas will keep repeating in the exam. So I think if you are watching this video and thinking, I'm just going to rely on Richard's tips, I haven't done any studying, I think you are setting yourself up for a potentially difficult situation in the exam. Now, saying that, I can talk about some core areas that I'm hoping up to this point everybody would have been studying, and just if you haven't maybe got your full understanding, you can just spend a day or so just going back over it, ensuring you've got the knowledge and you're ready to tackle these questions in the exam. Let's start off with Section A. Now, Section A is your big 50-mark question. It tends to cover a number of different areas on the syllabus. So it will hit your governance, your risk and your ethics. Included in this question, we've also got the professional marks. I'll talk about the professional marks at the end of the question and some general ideas of what I think could come up in this exam. Section B, it focuses on your choice, which is 2 out of 3 questions. Each of these questions are 25 marks each, and they tend to drill into some specific key areas of the syllabus. So it could drill into like a committee. Tell me about this committee. Tell me the roles, the objectives of the committee, and then a part B of the question would be using the information from the scenario, apply this knowledge, tell me how this committee could help this company in this situation. Now, like I said, rather than just say, I think this will happen in question 2, I think this will happen in question 3, I'm just going to talk about the general core areas surrounding this entire P1 syllabus. If we start off with corporate governance, I think some key areas that haven't been tested in a while in corporate governance, I would be aware of the nominations committee. There's not a huge amount of that in the notes or in the chapters in the textbooks, so I'd just ensure that we know what the roles of this nominations committee are, how they can assist companies, what could go wrong when you don't have a good structured nominations committee in place. I'd also be aware of the risk committee. Again, roles and responsibilities of the risk committee. Make sure we've got a real clear understanding of what this risk committee does. And again, how does it assist an organisation? How does it assist an organisation when risks are changing, when we're in a dynamic risk environment? If I just carry on with the risks, apart from the side of the risk committee, I'd also be aware of how companies go about identifying and assessing risk. To think about the framework, where we talk about probability of a risk happening and impact. So make sure we've got this quadrant, we can map out these risks on a quadrant. Then, once we can map out these risks, we need to be aware of being able to roll these risks and talk about how to respond. Now, how we respond to the risks is we've got this TARA framework where we can transfer them, we can accept, we can reduce, and we can avoid. I'd just be aware as a student about not just repeating those words, but maybe being able to come up with some examples of how to transfer risk or examples of potentially how to reduce a risk. Talking on reducing risk, that leads me on nicely to internal controls. Obviously, internal controls is a great way to reduce risks. Internal controls is another key area of the syllabus. You normally always get a question on internal controls somewhere in your exam. So again, you need to be aware of the technical side of it. What are the objectives of internal controls? What are the director's responsibilities? What are employees' responsibilities in terms of internal controls? And then roll that into, well then how can that help an organisation? How could it help an organisation in a given scenario? Another core area that we've got is ethics. There's a number of different ethical theories within P1. A couple of ethical theories that haven't been tested in a number of sittings. I'd be aware of the absolutism and relativism theories of ethics. So again, you've got to put your head on and think, right, if I was an absolutist, they give me a scenario, What would an absolutist do in this scenario? So don't forget, let's start off, let's define what an absolutist is, and then let's apply that knowledge to the scenario. Same idea with a relativist. Probably going to need a bit more of an in-depth answer here, because relativism is a bit more complicated. We're going to be varied depending on this situation. Another area that hasn't come up in a number of sittings would be the AAA model, the American Accounting Association, this 7-step model. So we could be given a dilemma, a company's faced with 2 options, they're unsure which option to choose, so we can use these 7 questions, we can map out the 7 questions, work through those 7 questions, and then ultimately get to the 7th step, which is the decision, and we can make a decision and say this is what we think the company should do. In terms of question 1, I said I'd go back to this, is the professional marks. There are a number of different varieties of professional marks that you can have in P1. If you're unsure of these, there's a really great article by the examiner on the ACCA website that talks about how to get these professional marks. I'd say a couple of favourites by the examiners are statements. Statements in the form of they put you in the position of the CEO. So I'm talking as I. Thank you for coming. I would like to address these issues. So I'm talking in the first person. They also like you to write statements on behalf of the company. So now I'm representing the company, so I'm talking as we. So I would be, thank you everyone for attending. On behalf of Phoenix Financial Training, we would like to thank you for being here today. I'd like to address the issues that we face. My final area that I would say to focus on for everybody would be integrated reporting. Integrated reporting is an area that came up in the syllabus for P1 12 months ago. It was tested 12 months ago. It's not made an appearance since then. It's been quite quiet, so I'd be aware of the 5 different types of capital within integrated reporting, and I'd also be aware of the 7 guiding principles. Again, it could come as knowledge within a question, and then we might have to roll that knowledge into an application. How can an integrated report help the directors? How can it help the stakeholders? For everyone sitting the P1 exam, I wish you all the very best of luck. Thank you for listening to this video. Goodbye.